and welcome to Balancing the Spectrum. I'm your host, Jose, and today I actually thought that I was going to go hard on this episode, but I I decided that no, I'm not gonna go in as hard as I initially thought. There was all these feelings that were blocking my clarity, but thankfully I got some clarity and I know how I'm gonna go about this. First, I'm gonna have to fill you in on something. If you haven't seen it yet, it's probably because uh, you don't follow the Instagram account of the podcast. So, a few days ago, I posted a reel with Jane Elliott doing her brown eye, blue eye exercise. And I actually thought that this was going to be the most interacted with, the one that was going to be the most talked about. And I was ready to face the consequences of negative comments and such. Whether they're directed towards me or towards Jane Elliott, it didn't matter to me. So, let me explain what her exercise is. It's called the brown-eyed, blue-eyed exercise. She segregates people with brown eyes and blue eyes. The brown-eyed people are treated fairly equally with privilege, while the blue-eyed people are sent into a room to wait for a long while, treated poorly, and once they are called to join the rest of the group, they are told to sit in the middle where everybody could see them. You have 3 lanes. The first side, brown-eyed people. The middle side, or the middle row, or column, is blue-eyed people. And the third column is brown-eyed people. And initially, these people don't really know what the exercise is going to be like. And some of them try to sit in the brown-eyed section when they're told not to sit there. Anyway, this exercise goes on, and the point of this exercise is to make people with white privilege feel for 2 hours, just 2 hours, what people with brown skin are treated like on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of people aren't okay with this at first. There's a lot of defiance, and some people do walk out because they're not going to take part in something that they don't think is right, which is great. It is cruel to be treated that way, but that's the point of the experiment or the exercise. It's to see from a personal view and experience how cruel society treats people of different color, other than a pale complexion. And, well, eventually, most of the blue-eyed people conform to the idea in the moment that they are not equal to everybody else in the room. And by the end of the exercise, most people end up leaving with a positive outcome. They learn something about society and about themselves. Whether you're in the brown-eyed section or blue-eyed section, you learn something. But there are several exercises that have been recorded. You can look them up on YouTube. Do that so you know what I'm talking about. And Miss Elliott, Jane Elliott, she has done this exercise throughout the world. There's a few recorded here in the United States. Again, look them up. And there's one in the UK and one in Australia. The one in the UK and Australia surprised me the most. I would say the UK one was the one where I was completely baffled because the exercise derailed even before it started. The people in the blue-eyed section were in complete denial of racism, not the fact that they were treated that way. They're like, oh no, there's no racism, there's no discrimination for color. The same thing that happens to a person of color happens to me. There's this specific lady in the UK group. She was saying, oh, my husband has to conform to wearing a suit and combing his hair every day to go to work. I completely rolled my eyes at this. And she was comparing it to one of the brown-eyed people's experience. He said that he refused to take and pick up his daughter from school because he's a darker complexion than she is, and she's in an all white school, or melanin low, lack of melanin school. And her peers, her teachers, probably think that she is low in melanin just like them. So if he was to pick her up, they would probably treat her differently just because what her dad looks like. And in the documentary, the man talking about his experience He has long hair, dreadlocks. He has a hoodie on. Nothing. It was casual wear. He went in there casual. When this lady talked about her husband conforming to wearing a suit, she said, "Oh, my husband would be treated differently if he had long," and I'm rephrasing, long nappy hair and um, in a hoodie, basically describing what he was wearing in that moment. It infuriated me. I was like, don't you hear yourself? But anyway, go look up the exercises. Look at them all. They all are different, or they have uniquenesses in them, even though they're the same exercise. But there's different responses. But anyway, I thought that was the reel that was going to be most talked about. I didn't post it so that it could be talked about. I posted it to spread awareness of what society treats us. A day later, I post 3 separate clips. Same video, but I had to clip it into 3 different parts because Instagram works that way. You can't put a 4-minute video in just one video, in one reel. And what happened was, it was Jane Elliott again, but she was talking about the map in the education system in this country and around the world. And she was saying how the Mercator map projection, that's what it's called, the Mercator projection, Google it. This projection is the one that they show us in school. And I remember very vividly asking my teacher, she was teaching us about the equator line and how it ran horizontally across the map. We had learned the states first, and then we went to world map. So I asked her, does the equator line run through Nebraska? Because in the Mercator map, the United States is in the middle of the map. So when you run through the center of it, it runs through what could be Nebraska or Iowa or just along those areas. And my teacher, she laughed. She said, "Why would you think that?" And she said, the equator runs through parts of South America, Africa, and Asia. And I was like, okay, the map didn't make sense to me, but I didn't question the map for the rest of my education out loud, but it never made sense to me. And for the rest of my education, I was taught that something spherical, when flattened out, gets distorted. That much makes sense to me. Great. Awesome. And what I didn't get from the comments, um, people were posting that the Mercator map was designed for navigation purposes. And I looked it up, and everywhere I looked, it said it was for navigational purposes. My first thought was, why show a map for education that is supposed to be used for navigational purposes, not to teach the actual size and distance between countries, and of course their position. They don't teach us that. And a lot of people were saying that in their school they did learn that, and I'm like, great, that's great. But I know for a fact that most people to this day think that the Mercator map is accurate. In my high school years, we were taught that the Mercator map was referenced as the world map. The world map. They did not teach us about different projections, different illustrations, different forms of mapping. They didn't teach us any of that. In the Mercator map, and Jane points this out in the video, she says that in the legend of the map, it says that South America is 9 times larger than Greenland. And I actually learned this after high school. I did my own research, and when I read the legend, that's when I read it. Because in high school, I didn't have the map in front of me. I was sitting in the classroom, and the map was where the chalkboard was at. They would pull it down and pull it back up. It was just a visual. So anyway, my experience has been that we are shown the Mercator map, but we are not taught about it. We're not taught where it originated from, what was the purpose, and that there are other projections out there that are more accurate in size, proportion, distance, and location of countries. According to Jane, the most accurate map projection is the Peters projection. And you could tell, look it up, you could tell right away, big difference. And this map makes sense to me. When I first saw this video, I had to look up different projections. I just had to. And in the caption of each reel, remember, it was 3 parts. I did say, and she didn't even mention how the world globe is more accurate, and I said And she didn't even mention that there are other maps um, that are just as accurate. And I listed them all, the ones that I have the knowledge about. I can't remember them by memory, but I do have them written down. Um, and I said in my caption that one of the most accurate map projections that exist as of right now is actually I believe it's called a tetrahedron, which basically means pyramid. I'm looking at my caption right now, so I could read it word for it. Okay, I put Jane Elliott official talking about the distortion of the traditional map everybody knows, and she didn't even talk about how a globe is more accurate than a flat map while still being close to illustration to the Gauss-Peter map, which is the one that she says is more accurate. The Winkle triple, Pierce quincuncial projection, cylindrical equal area projection, geodes homolocene projection, the Sinu Mallweed projection, the Robinson projection, the Capsella Burska Pastoris projection, and lastly, currently one of the most accurate map in shape, size, proportion, position, and angles used for navigation is called the Autograph World Map. I'll spell that out for you. AUTHAGRAPH. That's AUTHAGRAPH. Autograph World Map. And like I said, this map is a tetrahedron. It's accurate in size, proportion, shape, distance, the angles, because it has three different and location, three different purposes. One is flat map, and it looks really weird. Look it up. The other one, it turns into a pyramid, depending on how you want to look at it. And the third is it turns into a sphere. This allowed me to know that everybody who was commenting something hateful, or the fact that she's uneducated, or whatever the case may be, or have you ever heard of a globe? Comments like that, it allowed me to know they did not read the caption, and most people don't. I personally do, but I know most people don't. And it didn't affect me in the sense of, oh, there's negative comments. I didn't care about that. What affected me was that the first part of the clip, the first part of the video, that's the video that was most interacted with. And the other two were not as interacted as the first one. So that showed me that they didn't even bother to watch the full video. And it's on my Instagram page if you want to look it up at my account in balancing the spectrum .pod. So what actually affected me wasn't the comments, it wasn't the negativity. I'm the type of person that will comment or reply to you through education. Like, I'm gonna try to educate you, but if you're just stubborn to, that's not what I was taught, that's fine with me. You don't want to learn, it's okay. And that's what life is. We have to unlearn what we were taught. We have to unlearn everything that we were taught, because most of it does not apply to the real world. But anyway, this reel has had a shit ton of likes. It's over 10,000 likes by now. And as for how many people have seen it, I think over 300,000 people have seen it. And a lot of people, in the span of 3 days, started following me. This is where I get to the main topic of today. This is not the main topic. So in the span of 3 days, I went from 5 followers to 115, and it's still going up. Right now, it's like at 140. And I started asking myself, I was overthinking, are these people following me for the right reason? I created this podcast to create positivity, a good message, to provide inclusion, to accept each other as we are through our differences, to celebrate our differences. No one wants to be like anybody else. And it just got me thinking, maybe these people like the drama, or they like the tension, and they're going to spin off everything that I believe in and turn it into something negative. Well, yesterday I had a conversation, and this person was a stranger. She told me, you signed up to be a podcaster. You took the role of talking about controversial topics. You can't be depressed. You can't be mad because you put yourself in that situation. It was your choice. And I said, hold on. I'm not mad. I'm not sad. I'm not feeling in any way about getting the comments that I've been getting. And she said, well, then what the hell's your problem? I said, I'm just overthinking if this is going to pay if this is going to spread, not pay, if this is going to spread the message that I want heard. And she said, you have to get over that quick. When she said that, I was like, fuck, she's right. And I told her, you know what? I knew coming into this that negative pub negative publicity is good publicity. I came in here knowing that eventually, if people are following me for the wrong reasons, well, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. You're just gonna create more controversy and help me spread this message. The message that the universe wants me to speak about. These past couple of days that I've been overthinking. It crossed my mind more than a couple times. Maybe I shouldn't do this because it might have a negative impact on people. But universe kept speaking to me, and it was basically telling me, you have to speak. Now is the time that people are listening, they're paying attention. The more you speak, the more they will listen. And I would go, yeah, you're right, universe, you're right. But then I would go back into overthinking. And universe would tell me the same thing. But this is why universe sent me that stranger. That stranger was like, get your shit together. You know you have a message that you need to spread. A message of love. Spread love. Worry about spreading love, and don't worry about others trying to spread hate. Because at the end, love is all you got. Hate is taught. Love is natural. Love is innate. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share that little bit. But now we're gonna get to the actual topic of today. Solidarity. Let's start with the dictionary definition of solidarity. It says, unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest, mutual support within a group. So, with this definition, I would say it's about half right. It's half correct. Because it says, especially among individuals in a specific group. This I don't agree with. Solidarity is unity. It's the feeling of unity. Another word for solidarity would be being an ally. And a lot of people throw this word around nowadays. I'm an ally. I'm an ally. But a lot of the times they just say it because they want to feel good about themselves or prove something to the world that they're not like everybody else in their specific community or group. Let's start with the first examples that come to mind are female solidarity, male solidarity. Let's talk about those. Male solidarity would be like, I know what you're going through, I know what you feel like. You're giving them a validation of what they go through and think and process is valid because you're biologically a male. Same thing for female. Now, a male cannot have female solidarity because they don't know what a female goes through. Psychologically speaking, we think different. Men and women, we think different. We behave different. We act different. And our systems are built differently. I don't have a uterus. I don't know what it's like to be on a period. I can't have that female solidarity. I know what you're going through because I don't know what it's like to have a period. I don't know what it's like to go through menopause. I can have empathy. And this leads us to feminine solidarity. Feminine solidarity is not female solidarity. Feminine solidarity is having the understanding, the comprehension, the emotional, mental, psychological comprehension of what a woman goes through. I have had female friends and they've come to me and they're like, I have cramps, I can't take them, they're really bad. And I feel empathy for them. Like, damn, they shouldn't go through that. They shouldn't be going through that. But the fact is, their body works that way. So, what can I do as a biological male? What can I do? First thing, when it comes to cramps and periods, first thing I tell them, let me make you a tea. And they go, no, that's not gonna help. And I tell them, have you tried cinnamon tea? A lot of times they will say, yeah, but how's that gonna help? And I tell them cinnamon is used to diminish the pain for cramps and to regulate your menstrual cycle. I give them the tea. I give them the tea. They drink it. And it's not like they instantly start feeling better. But while they're drinking the tea, I'm talking to them. I comfort them. I go, let's watch a movie, eat popcorn. I don't like popcorn, but most people do. Well, I'm not going to say I don't like popcorn. It's not my go-to snack. I'll offer to make them something to eat. Give them some sort of physical and emotional comfort. That in itself is feminine solidarity coming from a man, whereas female solidarity is, I've been there, I know how it is, I know what we can do. We get right to the point and they comfort each other. Feminine solidarity, my point is, feminine solidarity can be experienced by a biological male. And it's not just about periods and cramps, it's about everything that a woman goes through in life. They're treated differently just because they're women. And as males, I feel like we have the obligation to give them comfort and support because, historically speaking, females are always at the front of the line. They're always the ones that are able to create a change. If it wasn't for women, women would not have rights, and it would not have led to the civil rights movement. Because when women got their rights, back in the 1920s, I believe, decades passed and women of color were like, okay, we need to start speaking up. No more taking it day by day. No more looking down at the floor when being around people other than our own color. They're the ones, they're the brains of political and social change. So, as a thank you in return, we have to be there for women. For women, it's our obligation. Don't put them down. If you're putting women down and you're a man, fuck you. No, don't do that. You ain't better just because you have a fucking dick in the middle of your legs. It doesn't make a difference. No. When you were a fetus, you began as female. Then you went through the masculinization of your brain, and then your body started becoming male. So no, fuck you. Women always came first. And a lot of people are gonna hate that comment. Take it or leave it. I don't care. You have your opinions, I have mine, and this makes sense to me. Women are our heart and soul. Me personally, as you should know by now, I am non-binary, and I use that label for conversation's sake. Meaning that I have both masculine and feminine energies, even though I am in a biologically male vessel. Both of those energies exist within me. The divine masculine and the divine feminine. Both energies come from the same place. You may call it God, source, spirit, the universe, whatever you call it. That's where masculine and feminine energies come from. Dualism. We live within a universe of dualism. And dualism can mesh together. That's why we have intersex children. I won't go into that though. Not this time. I already went into that, and you could go back and look at, I believe the episode is called Why Is It the Way I Am, or something like that. Go check that out, and in further episodes we could go deeper into that subject, but today it's about solidarity. Now, I've talked about how as males we have an obligation to have feminine solidarity, be there for our women, appreciate them, show them love, show them you care. And, well, this leads me to sticking with biological males. There are biological males and biological females that don't have solidarity, masculine or feminine solidarity for their groups. That's why I said the actual definition is half correct. Some women will listen to another woman's story, and their first response will be maybe, "Oh, I've been through worse," or "I've done that. She's a woman, suck it up." How many times have we heard that? Suck it up, get over it. As a race, the human race, unfortunately, we divide ourselves. We're taught to divide ourselves. And I won't get tired of saying that over and over in every episode, because that's a fact. We are taught to divide ourselves. Women who lack feminine solidarity are taught by men to have masculine solidarity. And a lot of the times, women who have masculine solidarity are people who enable toxic masculinity. You've probably heard comments like, "Oh, they're man, they're the ones with the power, they're stronger than us, they are the ones who have to take charge, they're the ones that have to work, they're the ones who have to take care of us, economically speaking." Or if a male behaves poorly, "Oh, that's just how men express themselves. They're aggressive." If a male sexually harasses a woman, you might get comments from women like, "Oh, you must have been a tease. You're probably a tease. You were teasing them. You were looking for that situation. So don't be bitching because you're the one looking for problems." Same for guys. When it comes to male and masculine um, solidarity, the male solidarity will always be there. The masculine, same as for women, it won't always be there. And just to put an example, oh, my girlfriend, my wife, she cheated on me and I don't know what to do. I love her. And some guy will be like, dude, just cheat on her. She did the same, pay her back with the same nail and tooth. And emotionally, this guy is distraught. When a biological male lacks masculine solidarity, it's because you don't acknowledge the feelings that they're feeling. Why? Because men are supposed to be strong, they're not supposed to be weak. Emotions are seen as weaknesses. This is not true. Emotion and feeling uh, is our strength as human beings. Same thing for feminine solidarity. What woman's story, what they're going through, what they're feeling, uh, they go, oh, your feelings aren't valid because you don't know what it's like to be a woman from back in the day, back in my day, or you don't know how to be a woman from the brown community. You don't know how to be a woman from the white community. How about, hey, you know, uh, as women, we have to stick together and be there for each other. What about that? And it seems like I'm sticking more with the feminine and the female perspective because there's a lot of feminine energy in me. And honestly, I have more empathy for women than I do for men. Yeah, it might be a flaw and it's something that I need to work on, maybe. But a lot of times, guys are assholes. They just think they're better because they're born men. It's fucking stupid. So, yeah, I see how historically we've treated women and how men have maintained the power. They robbed the power from women because in ancient times, the women were on top. They were the nurturers. They were the ones that provided emotional support. And guys, men, felt like they didn't have the power because they had to rely on women for emotional support. That's why men see feelings as a weakness. They don't want women to see their weakness, their 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 vulnerability, not their weakness, their vulnerability. Men, when it comes to solidarity, all types of solidarity, whether it's uh, masculine, feminine, uh, black solidarity, brown solidarity. I hate that word. I hate it. Sorry. I just hate using black and white to describe a person's complexion because we are not black and white. We are tints and shades of brown. A white person is not the color of your copy paper. No. A black person is not the color of a fucking a pen or whatever you have close by that is colored black. Black people aren't black. That's why I hate it. But going back to what I was saying, men are the ones, not all men, but a lot of men lack solidarity with most communities, whether it's female community, brown community. From now on, I'm going to try to use the word brown for all shades and tints of brown. For brown communities, for trans communities, gay communities. Men are the ones with the least solidarity, the feeling of unity for somebody else. Females, however, and feminine guys, that would be not necessarily gay guys, trans, or non-binary. They could be straight and cisgendered. They have more feminine energy, so they have more compassion in them. They have more empathy in them. Those guys, keep it 100. You're the real ones. And I'm just saying that because, like I said before, guys are assholes. Women, keep doing what you're doing. You have empathy down. You have solidarity down. Don't let society think otherwise. You have your power. It's just a matter of reclaiming it, owning it, validating your power. That goes for everybody in general. But women, you already are a step ahead. You're 1,000 million billion steps ahead of men. If you ask me who should be running the world, I say women. Women should be running the world. Why? Because of everything that I said. They have more empathy, compassion. They don't go straight to aggression right away. Most women don't. At least the women that I've met. They first assess the situation, think of what they could do in the moment to be helpful, and do it. Not promise to do it. You do it. So that's why I give women props. I love you. I adore you. I admire you. I look up to you. You are everything in this world. I love you. Just sincerely, I'm sending my love to the collective of women, whether they're biological or not. I send them my love. Why some of you are gonna get offended by that? Why do I say biological or not? Because people, women, who are born male, they've always had a feminine brain. They didn't go through the masculinization of the brain. And again, I refer you to the earlier podcast. Why is it the way I am? I think it's called. I talk about that more. But that's why I include trans women. It's thanks to trans women that we went through the gay rights movement and continue to do so. Right now, in the LGBT community, who's out there trying to make a change? Trans women, drag queens. And yeah, I know there's a difference between drag queens and trans women, but drag queens put on this illusion of being a woman because they've had it. Gay guys are, and it's not even just gay guys. There's straight, there's heterosexual men who are drag queens. Drag queens are guys who are tired of seeing injustices. And that's how they make a political statement, by portraying themselves as women so that people could be like, oh, well, hold on. Let me cycle back a little bit. They do this so that society can look at drag queens and be like, they're representing women. A lot of the times, it's mistaken for mockery, for making fun of women. That's not what drag queens do. And if you are a drag queen and you mock women, just quit. Stop. I know that there's some of you out there that do this on purpose just to get your likes and whatnot. Just quit your sorry. Quit your drag career and get a 9 to 5. Go back to being a man. And I say go back to being a man as in go back and represent men. But try to do it in a positive way, not in your misogynistic way. There's a lot of people that, there's a lot of men who are transphobic, misogynistic, and they use this platform of being a drag queen to promote their agenda. And they use it as comedy. When you hear the jokes, you hear people laugh. But I know, don't take everything so seriously, but there's a line. Like with every comedian out there, there's a line that you don't cross. And if you're going to cross it to make a positive change, not a negative one. I think I derailed from the conversation, so anyway. Basically, what I'm trying to say is solidarity. is what we need right now. Right now, many things are changing all around the world, and we need to have solidarity for one another as a human race. Not as male, not as female, not as gay, not as trans, not as disabled, not as neurodivergent, but solidarity as a whole. And if you're asking yourself, like, well, it just doesn't make sense. Hold on, I know what I need. Okay, that's probably my most used sound effect. uh, you find yourself asking, well, how do I have empathy? How do I feel unity with somebody who's not part of my community, who's not part of my group? Do research. Look up women's history. Look up black history. Look up gay history. And some examples of that are Title IX, Google Title IX, Brown versus Board of Education, which I hope most of you have at least heard about. Look that up. Look up Stonewall riots, and you will see, if you actually do a thorough research, how all these changes in society started because of women back in the 1920s. Of course, it started before then, but it was acknowledged in the 1920s. And when women finally got the right to vote, it just started an avalanche, if you will. More people wanted rights. Brown people wanted rights. The LGBTQ community wanted rights, and it just avalanched. Do a thorough research, and you'll see how women started the social a social change. And I thank them. We continue to struggle now, but if it hadn't been because of these women, we wouldn't be the society that we are now, which isn't great, but it's not what it was before. Before, you were oppressed by men, specifically pale, light-skinned men. They had the power. They still have power. They see it as a power struggle because more jobs are being offered and accepted by women. Why? Well, in my opinion, women are more efficient. They know what they're doing. They don't throw a fit just because. They know what they're doing. And they know when to be rational, when to be emotional. Most men do not know when to be rational, when to be emotional. If they begin to get a little bit emotional, they become aggressive because their rational part of the brain is clashing with their emotional part of the brain, and it creates aggression. That being said, I do repeat myself. We need solidarity more now than ever. We need human solidarity. A lot of things are happening. If you consider yourself an ally and you have privileges that other communities don't, stand up for them. Do something. Say something. If you know you have that privilege to say, I'm not gonna step uh step up for somebody else because it's not my fight, you're not an ally. Stop calling yourself an ally. And I do use a stern voice because it does irritate me. The fact that people call themselves allies when they really are not. I'm not mad about it, but it does irritate me. It confuses me. It makes me feel befuddled. Like, how can you say you're an ally and you're not doing anything? Oh, well, it's not my fight to fight. Okay, then step away. Don't do anything. Just don't call yourself an ally. You're not an ally. And for those who feel like you don't have a voice right now, like you can't do certain things right now, to you, I say, take care of yourself. Don't expose yourself to danger. Um, there are a lot of situations that may trigger you and you want to do something about it. But think about your own well being first. Unless you feel like it's your calling, do it. I guess it's your calling, so do it. Um, like in history, we've had people who have stood up for the community. And these people end up being martyrs. They don't want to be martyrs, but unfortunately, that's what they become. Because something done to them, whether it was uh, physical assault, murder, torture, whatever it is that they went through, because they were standing up for people, they became martyrs. And unfortunately, in most cases, historically speaking, there has to be a martyr in order to create a change. That's why I'm saying, if you feel like it's your calling to do something about it, that it comes innately from you, go ahead and do it. Take precautions. Take care of yourself. But for those who feel like it's not their calling, but you get heated up anyway and you want to do something about it, think about your well being and the well being of your loved ones. And I go back to saying, have solidarity for people who are going through the same thing as you. Don't divide ourselves any further. Everybody's experiencing different things all at once. And it's not just about color, it's about everything right now. Everybody is being targeted, some communities more than others at the moment. But I guess that's all I could say right now, or all that I could express at the moment about solidarity. I'm trying to think of anything else worth mentioning. Oh, of course. As always, love yourself and love others. If you can't love others, at the very least, try to accept who they are as a person. Not as male, not as female, not as gay, as a person. When you accept a person as they are, as a person, you don't see all the other labels anymore. They're not there. You only see the person. And yeah, I think that's all I got to say right now. Yeah, I could have gotten deeper, but I feel for right now, it's a good stopping point. Solidarity comes in many shapes and forms. Learn about them, do your research. Always do your research. And if you're still skeptical, the video that I mentioned in the beginning, Brown Eye, Blue Eye, exercise by Jane Elliott, look them up. She focuses on color. She focuses on the discrimination of color by using blue eyes, brown eyes. But she does mention other communities affected by discrimination as well, even though she focuses on color. So, Google these exercises or look them up on YouTube. You'll find the complete documentaries on YouTube. Watch them, and instead of thinking color, think sex, gender, orientation, nationality, everything that is used to divide us. See it from that perspective. It will make sense to you, or I hope it does. If it doesn't, like Jane Elliott said, the reason you feel uncomfortable watching these blue-eyed people be marginalized and discriminated against, it's because you feel uncomfortable seeing people of your same complexion being treated this way. You never think about how the other communities are treated, but when you're seeing it done to your own group, that's when you feel uncomfortable. That's my advice. Do research. Write down these things that I mentioned before. Title IX, the Stonewall riots, and Brown versus the Education Board or the Board of Education. Look these things up and go as far back as possible to see how we've divided ourselves. Go back to the 1400s, 1500s, the Spanish Inquisition. They're the ones that basically started this whole different races bullshit. There aren't different races. There are different complexions. Like, racism in its dictionary definition does not exist. Get that out of your mind. Racism, by the definition it goes by, does not exist. Colorism. Colorism is the actual name for what people use to divide us by the color of our complexion. But they don't want to call it colorism because they want us to think that we are different races. We may have different ethnicities, and ethnicities are your culture, your belief system, your roots. We all have African roots. Let's get that out of the way. We all have African roots. But some people are closer to that culture than others. It might be whitewashed, but it's still your culture. Hispanic culture, it may be whitewashed, but it's still your culture. That's where your ethnicity comes from. Your nationality is where you were born. And a lot of people get ethnicity, race, and nationality confused. I know I used to. And in my opinion, our nationality should be called Earth, because we all live in the same planet. Borders are made up constructs. And really, fighting over territory has been done since ancient times. I'm aware of that. But also, there were civilizations in ancient times that knew how to trade and barter. And it worked for them and they were successful. But because of some greedy neighbor civilization took them down because they envied the fact that it was working for them. In a lot of these situations in ancient civilizations, the ones who invaded another's territory did not want to trade or barter. They were like, no, we're not going to trade. We're not going to barter. We're just going to take it. And like I said, history repeats itself. Now, in our day, we go through the same thing, but except now, we have borders that control what comes in, what goes out, and if we had a barter system, we would not have the same issues of who's wealthier, who's poor. It would be a better system. You can make a farm in your backyard and you could sell your tomatoes, trade them. You could trade a tomato for an onion. I don't know, depending on, you define the value of that tomato, of how scarce it is in your area. So for all I know, it may be scarce in your area and your tomato might be equal to a full-grown horse. Does it seem like a fair trade? No, not really, but when it comes to the scarce value, it does increase. And that's just economy. Economy has inflation all the time. So if we did go back to the barter system, we would have to find our way around the inflation of certain items. And actually, I have an idea how. It's just that every single person on Earth has to agree to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. The way it would work is, I have a tomato. What country doesn't have tomatoes or is unable to grow tomatoes? Okay, let's just say, for example, let's say Korea. You don't have tomatoes? We have tomatoes. We're lacking seafood, though. We'll trade it for seafood. And there's your problem solved. No more borders. No more economic struggles. I know it sounds easier said than done. I know there's a lot that goes into it. Armies would have to dissipate, otherwise that power struggle between countries would be like the same thing. But yeah, I keep meaning to end this, but it feels like the universe continues to tell me something else that is relevant to everything that I'm talking about, which is solidarity. When you have solidarity, you have unity. When you have unity, you have peace. And That is our major goal. World peace. Okay. Now I'm done. Thank you for listening. If you made it all the way through, you're a champion for bearing with me. I know I'm very wordy and confusing at times. But thank you for being here via voice, comment, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe or go follow my Instagram account, and always feel free to email me at inbalancingthespectrum.podcast@gmail.com. My Instagram is inbalancingthespectrum.pod. And yeah, comment, send me emails asking for questions, arguing with me. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, contact me through whether it's comment, email, or Instagram. And yeah, I will see everybody next time. And always remember, we are all living in a spectrum. Love y'all. Take care.